Well, good afternoon, Doonhamers, and welcome to another halftime interview with myself, Finlay Jack. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by one of Queen's four Rangers loanees and the heir to Borna Barisic's throne is James Maxwell. Thanks for joining me, James.
No problem. No problem at all.
How you enjoy your time at Queen's so far? Because it's been quite impressive. You've played every game bar one, which you were suspended for.
I've really enjoyed it. I've said it numerous times on us. That's went as well as what I could really hope for in terms of the gaffer trusting me and giving me loads of minutes. And I think I've over the course of the season repaid them with my performances. I've had a few dips where performances not been as good or a wee mistake here and there, but overall I've been really delighted with how the seasons went, and obviously I've got 5 big games left, so hopefully I can keep my level of consistency and put in a few good performances towards the end of the season.
Do you expect to play this much?
Obviously, I believe that I could come and play. I didn't think I'd play probably every minute, every game. That I've been available. So no would be the answer. But once after the first few games, I thought right, I can compete at this level, but I needed to bring more of myself into the game. But luckily, I've been able to stay on the side, and I've been trusted to play.
You settled in quite quickly. How was it coming into a squad when, of course, everyone was new to you, but I think everyone was new to each other just about as well?
Yeah, I think that actually maybe helped a wee bit. That if there was new, it was near like there was a core group, and then everyone was. I was like one of a few that came in. It was literally everyone was new and getting to know each other. And I think you've probably seen that in the first 9 games where we weren't really too sure on each other, really what our strengths were and what our weaknesses was. But I settled in really quickly. Everyone obviously having jobs and that is sort of the leaders of the group, and being a Rangers fan help. We settled them in the squad, but I literally everyone was brand new to me and helped me settle really quickly.
How tough was that first 9 games when the Betfred Cup was also the first 13 games for you as a young player? Because it can't have been easy, like losing 6 to Hearts. Of course, you got a red card as well over in here, so that must have been a tough start.
Yeah, well, I'd had obviously the 4 Betfords that you'd mentioned, and I thought I'd done well on those. In the first league game, get sent off at air, which here we go. So I think that was good that I had that disappointment, and it was like right, I need to work hard to get back in the team, and then take it from there. But those 9, I think we were on a run with losing like 4. I think it was Dundee, maybe at home. It was probably the worst. It was so flat, and like we had nothing. So it was extremely tough. I was sorry. So this isn't going to. My performances myself were pretty good. This isn't how I really wanted it to go in terms of. It was really flat.
And you quickly after that made a name for yourself as a goal scoring left back. Where's that come from? Is that something you've learned off Borna Barrett? Because he likes a goal or two as well, doesn't he?
I think Bonner's scored over the course of his career, but I started it out as when I was younger. I used to play up front and everything, and I think progressively as I've got higher up in the age groups, I've went further and further back the pitch. So I don't know if that says anything about my goal abilities up the top of the park, but 4 so far is that's pretty good. That's pretty good for a fullback, so I'll take that.
Have you learned much off of the likes of Borna Barisic and Calvin Bassey? James Tavernier is a right back, but he's a fullback is similar to you. You must have learned that. There's not much better attacking fullbacks in the country, is there?
No, I don't think I could have been in a better place to sort of learn from him. It's more with Borna is like more like watching what he does rather than him like pulling me to the side or whatever, and talking to me through the game or whatever. I've trained a good bit with the first team, so I see the likes of what Tav and Borna are doing, and they're ridiculous. So it's probably I learned more watching them rather than any sort of like one-to-one conversations or anything like that.
How long did you spend with the first team? Because you trained with them over summer as well, am I right in saying that?
I was like, to be fair, there's not been like a sort of prolonged period where I've been like I trained with them every day from like say a set day, or it's been like just sort of a couple sessions every week or a session here and there. Yeah, it's like, over the last probably a year and a half, 2 years even, just sort of like going, getting a couple sessions here and there and going back to play reserves and stuff. So there hasn't been. I've got up at a lot of sessions with them, probably with the 50, but not over like a 3-month period or whatever. It's over a long time.
That reserve team, there's now, or the Rangers reserve team, there's now quite a lot of boys here at Queens. That must be good. You were the first one here, and then obviously you're joined by Reece Breen, Daphne Buddy, Kieran Dix, and I think Kieran McKechnie. You probably played with him as well at Rangers.
Yeah, there was a lot of boys. Naya as well. I wasn't there at Rangers, but I knew him through and stuff, and when he was at Hampton. But the first 6 months was, well, as I was saying by myself, but I wasn't. But when they came, I think it probably helped that I was there first, so I could sort of like introduce them to the group and sort and give them away in. But to be fair, they're good lads. They're confident in themselves anyway. They settled in fine. I think me and Breeny, you could probably see in like the games and that we played with each other at the full last year, so we've got quite a good understanding of what we're good at. And Dapo's brought a lot of quality and pace to us. And Dixie's came in and done well when he's played.
Just going back to this season, then you touched on a few minutes ago about the Dundee game and how it was so flat. I think everyone felt it. It was a really flat atmosphere after the game. How did that change? Because the Wraith game, it was almost like a brand new team. Just the whole aggression, the character was there in the Wraith game that wasn't in the Dundee game. What changed?
It's hard to put your finger on it, really. I think, weirdly enough, I've talked about it with a few lads. I think probably Charlie going in goals actually probably made everyone sort of look around and go, right, we need to sort of look after him here. Even though Charlie's a good enough goalie, but he's 16 when he made his debut. It's just he shouldn't have been in that position anyway. So I think that probably helped in terms of what you're talking about then, sort of intangible stuff with the attitude and desire. It's not saying it wasn't there in the games before, but it was up for that game. I think that was, as you say, the turning point in our season.
And we've kind of kicked on from strength to strength since then. We've lost 3 games since then. It's 3 in 13 league games, something stupid like that. 9 wins or something. That's some run, isn't it? Considering we were 10th, probably favourites for relegation. Now we're eyeing up the promotion playoffs.
Well, from where we were, it's like 9 day, innit? It's obviously the boys coming in January helped us. I think even kick on even more, but I think we were already putting in good sort of foundations over the few games before they came in. But it's from where we were, it's unrecognisable, the team, really.
And you said how you've got a good relationship with Reece Breen. Obviously, you play together, you play next to each other. You've been playing behind Izzy Jones a lot since he's came in. What's that like with him? Because both of you going forward are dynamite, aren't you?
Well, Izzy's, sometimes you just need to sort of give him the ball and just leave him 1v1 because if I was playing up against him, I wouldn't fancy my chances. He's lightning quick. It's ridiculous. So it's just it's sort of a case of sometimes me just taking a back seat and sort of saying, right, just leave him 1v1 with any fullback, because even if he loses the ball 4 or 5 times, he's gonna get by his man 1 or 2 times, and he's shown that this season how good he is. So
this is your first year of professional football, obviously. Who's been the toughest opponent you've came up against, be it in training or in games? Because Martin Boyle is probably the best quality, but is there anyone else you've had a tough game against?
I would say, well, Dobes in training is a joke. So I would say he twisted and turned me a few times, too many. So I would say him in training. But I would say Martin Boyle, just when he was in front of me, it was okay, but his runs in behind and that were just something different that I hadn't really seen this year. And I would say Paul McMahon at Dens was a tough game. To be fair, I don't think the pitch helped with sort of 1v1s and that, but he was different as well.
That was a good game, the Dens game, wasn't it? A 3-2 win. Was that, the moment where you kind of began to believe that this is, we could get promoted this season, because we were so poor, but that was, I think, top. I think we're 5th place after that game.
I think we'd beat Inverness in the midweek
Yeah.
before that, and we'd just sort of climbed away a wee bit from the relegation playoffs. So when going to Dengie, you don't really expect, maybe expecting a point on that, but I thought we were excellent that day as well, and it was probably a turning point where you start going, right, start looking up the table here a wee bit and see who else we could take on, because we were beating teams, well above us frequently, and we fancy ourselves more against the sort of teams higher up than we've struggled against Alloa and Morton and the likes of the teams at the bottom.
The defence has been quite settled. Going forward, it's been a bit tougher. We said at Dens there, it was a bit of a makeshift team because I think everyone that kind of plays ahead of you on the pitch has had a spell out injured. How much does that unsettle the team when, it's chop and change? Now, not so much because boys are back to fitness, but those kind of 2 or 3 months, did that unsettle anyone?
In a way, yes. It'd obviously be nice to have a consistent sort of team. Have 10, 11 games where you play sort of only 1 or 2 changes, but I think we've added well in January. Got a lot of bodies in, and people are playing for places now. You know what I mean? So that sort of increases performance levels. It unsettled a wee bit, but I think it galvanises you as well when you look around and you maybe only get 4 or 5 subs. Right, I need to put in 90 minutes here where I need to get through it basically.
I've got a few questions now, and it's about the change rooms you've played in. It can be, Queens or Rangers. Who's the biggest teacher's pet you've played with?
Biggest teachers? No, I don't know. I'd say at Rangers, I don't know. There's a few.
I've put you on the spot here. I do apologise.
I would say Lewis Mayo, who's on loan at Dunfermline, would probably be the biggest one at Rangers. But that's just him in general. He's just like very professional in that. So I would say him, but there's a few that are lucky to miss out there.
Well, what about Queens? Because I think it was Dan Pybus told me a few weeks ago that Eunice was a bit of a teacher's pet.
I could see that. I could definitely see that. I'd probably agree with him on that.
Who's on the jukebox in the Queen's changing room? We've seen after the Hearts game, Ayo busting out some moves. Is it him on the music as well?
It's not him because I think we'd get some of the London music in that, and that's not really something we dance to. So I'd probably the first half of the season was fitzy, but we kept on losing. So when Brainy came in, we seemed to start winning. So Brainy's been on the tunes, and I've heard it at Rangers. He's got a good mix.
Who's the best dressed?
I've not seen anyone.
Okay, so
literally. We come to training and training kit and come to game tracksuits. But I think Fitzy's probably got a bit of him, but I couldn't tell you. I've not got any evidence.
Is there a prankster in the Queen's dressing room?
I'd say Rhys McCabe's. He's not like a prankster, but he's like always joking, always like having a laugh, and I enjoy that. Bucky as well, actually. Bucky's got more pranks. I'd say he's got more of a prankster than like a jokester.
Any good ones?
Well, one day Dapo had he had like a meeting or something where he had to wear his suit. So he's brought his suit into the like changing rooms, and me and him have just sort of looked at each other and right after saying we sprint in, had his suit in like one of the lockers or whatever, and he came in. We thought he'd like have a laugh, and he absolutely lost his head. That one didn't go down as well as what we thought, and me and him sort of kept quiet about who it was that put the suit in the locker.
Class. Who's the best trainer?
Willie Gibson.
100%.
100%.
Who's the best finisher at the club? Because there's a few. Because Connor Shields can finish. Willie scored a few good ones. You've scored a few. Ayo doesn't miss penalties. Dobes. No discussion. If you compare my finishing the Dobes in training, you wouldn't believe it. I'd scored 4 goals this season. What's Dobes like in comparison to the boys at Rangers? Because there's like Jermaine Defoe, Alfredo Morelos, Ryan Kent, some top quality finishers there as well.
I would say in terms of like in front of goal and that, he's not like him and Defoe are not like they're not worlds apart. But to even like see his link up playing that, he wouldn't look out of place, and like I said that time, he wouldn't look out of place in Rangers like that. Obviously, maybe a couple of years ago when he was properly flying, but his plays a joke.
Who's the worst finisher?
Yet again, there's a few in the hit. Nah, I'd go Bucky. Bucky's the worst finisher. That's it.
Is he awful, is he?
If it was with his head, he'd be all right, but I think on the ground, that 1v1, I don't, it went back.
I've got one more, and it's only because I've seen a video of you singing on TikTok. I think it was Lazy Song by Bruno Mars. I'm going to put it in this video as well. Who's the best singer? Apart from yourself, of course, because it wasn't a bad
Yes,
band.
I was about to give it to myself there.
I said it 'cause I can. Today I don't feel like doing anything. I just wanna lay in my bed. Don't feel like picking up my phone. See the message at the tone. 'Cause today I swear I'm not doing anything. At all.
Big Tommy in that at the start of the season, I remember. Lots of shooting, had to do a bit of singing. He was hopeless. So
Well,
definitely wasn't
do you
him.
still do that kind of like initiations and things? Because I know a lot of clubs do that singing, but it's tougher this year with COVID.
I was about to say there hasn't been many like, initiations in that this year, because usually you do them when like you go in like an away trip into a hotel or something. But nah, there's not been any this year. But I would back Reece McCabe. I've heard a few vocals.
Cracking. Well, thanks very much for joining me, James, and best of luck on Saturday and for the final 5 games.
Thank you very much.